Hey guys, what's going on? It's Tetraside. Today I'm just going to be doing a hopefully really quick video here on permissions files, particularly PermissionsEx because that's the one I'm most knowledgeable in, the one I know how to set up and everything, and it's the permissions is like the most pain in the butt thing to work with when it comes to your own server, if you don't already know that already. So if you ask someone to help you with the server, and if you particularly the permissions part, you're probably gonna get a resounding no, or go fuck yourself answer, because it really is just a pain in the ass. Mainly because there is, with each plugin for Bucket, there are set permissions that you need for each group if you're going to specify it for each group, and then aside from that, if you don't know how to set up a permissions file, you're going to screw everything up. You're going to wonder why nothing is working. You're going to put in a new group or whatever, and your spacing is going to be off, or if you don't put a certain bracket, like if you're not going to put any permissions in there and you're going to inherit, which is another thing that I'll go into, and if you don't put a bracket in like I did the other day, then you reload the PermissionsEx thing and everything screws up. Nobody has any permissions. People can't talk in chat. People can't pick up items. Suddenly people are freaking out, instant messaging on Skype, and you don't know what's going on. So you have to go into your permissions file and figure out what the hell is going on. And this is exactly like working with code, and this is why it is terrible to work with. And you need what I call guinea pigs to make sure that the permissions work right the way that you want them. Without further ado, let's get into this thing. So on my website, I have I put up publicly, it's actually a private link, but it's public to those that know how to get to my website and click the PermissionsEx file, PEX file, as I put it on there, how to set up everything. Basically, you can copy and paste this into your own PermissionsEx file. You're really gonna have the same setup as I do with the default group and the permissions. All you'll need to do is remove things, remove lines of plugins that you don't have, and let's just go ahead and go into that real quick. Okay, so I don't know if you can really see this or not because this is tiny on my XSplit. That's what I'm using to record this. Essentially, this is the PermissionsEx file right here, and this is all the permissions. And then towards the bottom are like the individuals and what groups they're in, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But the first one you want to deal with is your default group, which is the first one you want to do. You'll start off, typically the permissions file will start off with what you need first, and it'll be like newbie or default, I think, is actually the name that they have. Instead of, for me, it's explore, and you can name it whatever you want. Just make sure that the spacing that you have is 2 spaces. Okay, that's really important. And then the next one is over 2 spaces from that, and then it goes down from there. I recommend having Notepad++. That's what this program I have right here is for this is Notepad++. Look for it. It's free to download, and it makes all your configuration files so much more clean than Notepad could ever do. Because sometimes, like especially even with this, the PermissionsEx file, let's just give another example, like with factions, the plugin for factions. If you look at the configuration file, it's all jumbled up in the configuration file. It looks like shit. So if you get Notepad++, it'll make it all pretty and stuff for you. It recognizes pretty much every language out there, YML, and JSON, and everything else, C, C++, all that stuff. You can even go here. See, these are all the languages it knows. So, YAML, YML, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, now you'll need to set a default group, which you can do default and true, and for the rest you don't, like let's go to the next one here, which is Enderville, which is a town, established town for those of you that don't know. There's nothing really special about them with the exception of their prefix, which is a title before their name, which is prefix. You can add suffixes as well. You just had to do suffix, and then you'll have to put in this. You have to make a space. You have to put the little apostrophe, and then any formatting codes, which if you go on the Minecraft wiki, you can just type in formatting codes and it'll tell you what they are. But instead of that little double S, you'll use the ampersand or shift 7, and we'll make that ampersand sign, and then you'll do whatever color coding you want to do. And then I kind of lost track what I was saying there. Now, when it comes to if you're gonna have PermissionsEx, you're gonna need modifyworld. You don't need modifyworld. That's only if you want to restrict people's access, like when they get on your server. If you want them to register on your engine website, like my website is actually an engine website. I just have my tetrasite.com domain replacing the whatever it would be, and you can basically have, they can walk around and jump around, but they can't destroy blocks, can't create blocks, and they'll starve to death. So it basically forces people to join your server, and when they do join your server, you'd have to set up modifyworld differently. But if you have modifyworld installed onto your server and you don't want to do anything with it, you need to have this as your first line. You need to leave that in there, otherwise nobody's going to be able to do anything. Okay. Multiverse, this is for allowing access to other worlds, and they have these what I call sub or like add-on plugins is for multiverse portals. I did try to get Nether to work, and that didn't really work, so I got rid of it. And originally I had given everybody access to each portal, but as I added the VIPs and then for the the donators and everything, I didn't want the default people to have access to the creative world unless they upgraded to the VIP. So I had to restrict their access by adding these permissions here. I have essentials installed. These are like all the basic things that I have for essentials. If you want to know what to put for each plugin that you'd like, usually it's just the major plugins like Essentials or Multiverse. They have a wiki or they have a GitHub or something like that. They'll have a list of all the permissions, like these permission nodes that you need to know. They'll have what it is and what it does, and that'll determine which group that permission belongs to. So say that there was access to all. Sometimes you want this to be certain groups like admins or people that registered. You'll want them to have this modifyworld all, be able to do anything on it. Now that's what this asterisk means, is that you want them to have, there's no restrictions on that specific permission. And this is what gets so frustrating about permissions, is that you get someone saying, oh, I can't do this, why can't I do this? And they're like, oh, well, I haven't put that in the permissions. And so I had to, like, people being able to do /scene and then the username, /rules, /real name. You can even look up like certain how to make something with /recipe and then like say iron sword. Everybody knows how to do that. And /message, and then somebody, originally people didn't have that on my server and they were like, why can't I message anybody? Setting home, like being able to, this is to be able to have the access to the command of /home, and this is the ability to have go to your bed home. I don't understand why certain plugins are configured the way they are with the nodes, but my guess is that it's the way that Java is. And you have to understand that Java is such a POS language. I took a class in high school for Java programming, and it is not fun. Um, so, that's really um, all about that. But like, I don't need this chess shop. I don't have chess shop installed anymore. I can get rid of that stuff, and it won't affect anyone because I don't have that plugin installed. So if you remove a plugin, just remember to remove the permissions for it. Not like it'll really have any effect if you don't. It's just like a null command. It's a null permission, really. Make sure you save. Always save, and you can close out because it's going to close out anyway. And finish editing and delete local file. Always click yes. What this is right here, this is called FileZilla. I recommend this as well. This is called a FTP client. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. Basically, it allows you to transfer files from your computer to your server, or transfer files from your server to your computer. Like sometimes you have to pull, say your server's running and you have to stop your server to save a file or whatever. You can just pull like this permissions file over to your desktop somewhere. This is going to show like local site means where it's going to download the file to. You can make modifications to this on your, you download it to your desktop, and you can modify it from your desktop and then upload it back to the server. But what I normally do is you can do straight from the server. Like you want to modify the permissions file. I'll right click on it and click view and edit. It'll bring up the permissions file, and then make your modifications for whatever it is, and then save, and then close out the file. And it's gonna ask you if you want to finish like the one thing that I'll just make a discard logo, and it doesn't matter because I didn't really make any changes to it. Let's just say oh man, I was gonna do the slash back command, but I didn't want certain people to have access to it in certain worlds. That is a totally, completely like new thing I have to do, and I don't really feel like going into it. But you have to set it up in each. Well, actually, you really had to set up in the default group, and then inheritance. What I was talking about, basically, Enderville, since they're gonna have all the same permissions, make sure you put the permissions blank, but you'll need these brackets. If you don't put the brackets in there and you just put everything else here as it is, it's gonna screw up. It'll tell you in your console what line you're having the error in, and that's what helped me the last time when my permissions file screwed up. It told me it was it was Twitch's Twitchfoot. I have a where is it? See, they have. I couldn't without having their. I had to basically make separate individual groups for them to have different colored admin tags. So for some reason this line 280 didn't have the brackets, and I don't know how that happened. Because it had already been a thing in there. So I went ahead and added the brackets and saved the file and whatnot, and we were all good to go. So say, I do have people there. Let's just say I don't have anybody in the diamond sponsor, so let's just say we wanted to remove fly from there, and we'll save it, and then close. And it's going to ask you, it's been previously open and it has been changed, meaning that you opened it up, you made a change, and then you saved it, and so there's something changed on it, are you sure if you want to upload it back to the server? And if you're done editing it, then click the finish editing and delete local file, which means basically what happened is it created a temporary file on your computer when you opened it up, and it's gonna delete the local file and it's gonna save the new change that you just did on that file, and then click yes. But I'm gonna click no, because if I click no, then it won't make the changes. So if I discard local file, download and edit file anew, it should have the fly in sponsor 3, which is the yeah, there it is right there, fly. So there you have it, and that is, now you can see why permissions are a pain in the butt, and why people do not really want to help out as far as permissions go. If someone gets an error in their like a normal player, if they have an error when they try to do something, to ask them what the error is, and from there you can figure out what's going on. It'll be in their group what they can't do, and then once you fix it and you go in and save the changes and it's got the new permissions in there, what you're going to want to do in your server is do /PEX space reload. You're reloading the permissions file. You never want to do /reload on your server. Number one, your admins typically hate it when you do that, because they lose their creative game mode, and it drops them and sometimes kills them. That is if they don't have operator status anyway. And secondly, apparently it causes memory leaks, and it'll cause your RAM usage for your server to start going up. So if you absolutely positively need to reload your server, just restart the server normally. Just explain to your users, hey, I'm sorry, made some major changes, I need to restart the server, it'll be back up in a moment. And they typically don't mind, because your server is awesome like mine, and they continue playing like nothing ever happened. So that's that. One more thing. You'll notice, maybe you won't notice, I don't have everything you need. Like the PermissionsEx, the RAR file, the RAR file, it has 3 plugins in it. It has the modifyworld, PermissionsEx, and chat, the chat manager or whatever. I don't have chat manager. I have Essentials, has its own. It has Essentials chat in it, and I just use that for everybody's prefixes and like the formatting of that, and that's a video I'm not going to go into. So just make sure you only have the plugins you need installed on the server, because if you don't need something on it, just remove it. If something is causing a lot of lag and high RAM usage, like dynamic map, shorthanded dynmap, that causes a lot of trouble. You'll need like a really big server for that kind of thing, and you'll need to remove it. I had to remove mine. I was kind of sad about that. So hopefully I didn't go too long into that. Hopefully this was informative and let you know how you're supposed to properly configure your files. And if you need any additional help, please leave a comment here or contact me on Skype if you know my Skype name, or Steam. I'll put my Steam stuff down there. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.